Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. This is Reservations, and I'm Rain Whalen.
And I'm Malibu Jeremy. I'm wearing a Hawaiian shirt.
Like Malibu Ken?
Yeah.
Are you replacing Ryan Gosling and Barbie now?
I mean, I'm not allowed to say. But,
But, you know, wink, yes.
I face litigation if I speak further on the matter, but...
Are you... I mean, I'm sure I know the answer to this question. You're not going to go see the Barbie movie, are you?
Of course I am.
You are?
Yeah.
Genuinely?
Yeah.
The trailer has to sell. Because all the images I've seen, I'm like, no.
I'm going to see it.
Absolutely.
For sure. Yeah, I'm going to see it. I think it's going to be fun. And it comes out the same day as Oppenheimer, so...
Oh my God, does it?
Yeah, I think so.
Jesus.
So,
Who's doing Barbie? Is it Warner Bros.?
Greta Gerwig. Oh, I don't know.
Well, that's some strategic planning on their end.
Yeah.
Ooh, we'll slide it in when Christopher Nolan has like one of his best movies come out.
Yeah. Theoretically.
Oppenheimer comes out next year, right?
Yeah. In like 11 months.
Yeah, that's right. 'Cause,
The countdown.
yeah, the teaser counts down.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back, everyone. Jeremy, how did you feel about last week's episode? Because I was actually about 5 minutes off. It was about 50 minutes.
Yeah, it was fine. I mean, I think it would have been a little bit more interesting, a little bit more analytical if we actually believed it was a political satire. I think if we actually believed that, we would have gone into more detail about it. But since I don't believe it, what's the point of going into it? Because I don't. And so I'm not going to pretend to...
Yeah, we're not going to do a whole episode of where we just reach for things.
No, I think it went fine. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Is it the episode the Marx Brothers deserve? No. But it's fine.
Yeah.
It's the best we could have done at the time.
I mean, yeah. I mean, truthfully, yeah. I mean, we pretty much summarized the whole movie, just shaved off of 18 minutes.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Well, in case you didn't listen to last week, this week we are talking about Adaptation. This very meta comedy from Charlie Kaufman, who, if everyone knows, we love Charlie Kaufman. We've done 3 of his movies already. And this was just really interesting to see him not in the director's chair. You know.
Yeah, his first directorial outing was Schenectady.
I was about to say, wasn't it Schenectady? Yeah. But, you know, I still consider this a Kaufman movie.
Of course. I mean, it is. I mean...
Especially with the subject matter that it's about him.
Well, yeah.
So.
I think that, you know, anything he writes, it's his. Like, this isn't a Spike Jonze movie. You know what I mean?
Now... Since I did not do your recommended thing of watching Being John Malkovich,
okay.
So was this just kind of like Kaufman was like, hey, I've got this other script. I want to do it. And once they finished Being John Malkovich, they just kind of went... Or did they kind of start it in the middle?
It's a few years. They're a few years apart.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it was that kind of it,
He was struggling with writing it during the filming of Being John Malkovich.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, so first impression, since this was my pick.
Yeah.
I loved it, man. I mean, it was wonderfully acted. I could talk for 8 hours about Nick Cage's range. To quote Jake Peralta, the guy's got range.
Yeah.
He was awesome. And of course, like, I'd seen the GQ video that he did where he talks about the movie. And it always has interested me, but actually finally seeing it, it was awesome.
Yeah.
It escalates so quickly. I was not expecting it to go that way.
Yeah.
But I mean, Chris Cooper was great.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and also Chris is great in anything he does.
Of course.
I love when Brian Cox shows up in anything. It was awesome. I really liked it.
The guy he's playing, by the way, actually doesn't hate voiceover narration, by the way.
Oh, really? So he's playing a real person?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's funny. So when since you've seen this, when was the first time you saw Adaptation?
Was the last time. I don't remember if I was living in Lubbock or not. Honestly, I don't remember. It was a while ago. It was a long time ago.
But since you love the movie so much, you kind of were like...
Well, I just love Kaufman. So it's, And this one is so interesting, right? This one is so different.
And it got very meta, too.
Yeah.
Because, he starts writing the movie in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, I've written myself into my own script.
Yeah.
Like, it's so good.
Yeah.
So Jeremy, why don't you hit people with that quick synopsis? Because this episode will probably be longer than 15 minutes.
Probably. Okay. So Nick Cage plays Charlie Kaufman and Donald Kaufman. Charlie Kaufman is struggling to write an adaptation for a film based on the book The Orchid Thief.
Which is a real book.
Yep. Was a series of articles in the New Yorker about a guy who just, goes and finds and collects orchid flowers. Or any sort of flower, but orchids especially. Mm-hmm. He's sort of an eccentric guy, and so he, is fascinating to read about. So the movie is just him trying to grapple with writing a screenplay about a book that really is about just a guy and flowers, right? Really no narrative, no story, no arc, there's nothing. I mean, it's really just about flowers, right? And he doesn't want to make it Hollywood. He doesn't want to put car chases, guns, sex, right? Any of that stuff. He just wants it to be what it is, right?
Which is funny because those things happen.
Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
He lives with his twin brother, Donald, who does not exist in real life. And he is also trying to write a screenplay because he's sort of a deadbeat, right? He's but he is finding success, right? Which is so funny because Donald is going with everything that Charlie is going against, right? Mm-hmm. Like Donald doesn't mind putting in these things that Kaufman or that Charlie doesn't want to, right?
Yeah.
And he is finding it easier, and he's getting things done, and he's pitching and he's selling, and people are responding positively to his screenplay. Mm-hmm. It's very frustrating for Charlie Kaufman. We intercut with the book and with the woman writing the book.
Yeah, Susan, played by Meryl Streep.
Right. And so it's his back, and so Kaufman is also getting to, in a way, still adapt The Orchid Thief with these sort of with these interludes, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think more, and we'll get into it, but I think more it was just more like his just taking this section of the book and playing it out exactly how it was written.
Yeah,
probably.
Right.
But
and with trying to write this, with trying to get to the bottom of how in the world can I adapt this, he meets Susan. He starts following Susan. It turns out Susan is having an affair with LaRoche, right?
Chris Cooper.
Chris Cooper's character, which I don't think happened in real life. And
no, I had to look that up.
And then car chases, guns and sex ensue, right?
Yeah.
And then the movie ends. It's a wild ride. I mean, I yada through a lot because I wanted to get to a lot of things, and I wanted to not ruin things by the synopsis. So
So man, I really want to start with Charlie.
Okay.
Because I feel like the real Charlie Kaufman is not this neurotic and not this self-loathing.
I think he is writing himself the way he sees himself, right?
Okay.
For instance, a good example of this would be Matt Groening sees himself as the comic book guy, the comic in The Simpsons.
Oh, okay.
he says, that is who I think I am. So that's how he writes it, right? And that's how he creates a character. So I think in that sense, where that's not true, right? Necessarily. I think that Kaufman is writing himself as a super neurotic, right? Super
self-loathing.
Yes. Fat.
Pretty much broken man.
Because I've seen what he looks like, and he's not fat.
No,
he wasn't fat back then either.
Yeah, he's just a scrawny dude.
Yeah, so it's so interesting to see how he sees himself in this, and attaching a fictional twin brother is really interesting, because he represents all of the, to me anyway, he represents all of the bad ideas, all of the temptations to go Hollywood, right? And then finding success and happiness that way, but that's not what Charlie wants.
Yeah.
Right? This is what it would be like almost if I did just fucking write some bullshit that anybody wants to see or read.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man. And, the whole time I was watching it, the thing that got me the most is all of his masturbation fantasies.
Yeah.
That he's just that kind of broken and sad.
Lonely.
That's what gets him going.
Yeah.
Is these women like, oh, you're a genius. This is amazing.
Yeah,
yeah. But
really, he's just after recognition. Like, he wants to be recognized as someone who's good at what they do.
Yeah.
And he's getting that with being John Malkovich,
Yeah. Which I just love all the interactions with him on set. So do they recreate the Being John Malkovich set?
Yeah.
And so
I think, I'm not sure if the beginning, because they did put Nick Cage in it, but I think that might be CGI. Putting him in it like that.
Yeah, because that looked like behind the scenes footage.
It looked pretty legitimate.
Of John being like, hey, let's just get this over with.
Right.
I'm not saying that for me. I'm saying that for all these people and all this rubber.
Yeah.
No fuss. Let's just get through this.
Yeah.
Which I could see John saying something like that.
Sure.
Well, I mean, he probably actually did.
Yeah.
But yeah. Because then the rest of it doesn't feel that way. Like when we see...
No, the rest of it is recreations of the set.
Yeah, like when we see...
John Cusack.
And Catherine Keener, which I laughed my ass off as soon as I saw John Cusack walk into frame and see Charlie and just kind of like, hey.
Yeah, it's... I'm sure people in reality knew who he was, knew he was the writer, knew whatever, right? Whether or not they still treated him that way, who knows? But
yeah.
I don't think people just didn't know who he was and didn't give a shit that he was there. I think, again, this is all from his own perspective.
Yeah.
And he's like, people hate me. I'm in the way. I'm awful. I'm fat. I'm, whatever.
Yeah.
And so he's feeling that way all the time, poor guy. But, he's so neurotic. I think that, fun fact, before Charlie Kaufman became Charlie Kaufman, he wrote for the Dana Carvey show.
No shit.
Yeah.
Did they talk about that on the documentary?
Mm-hmm.
Fuck, I'm gonna have to rewatch that now.
Yeah. For like 2 seconds. I mean, it's just like...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we had this... They were talking about their staff writers, and, one of them was Louis C.K., one of, you know what I mean?
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And then he goes, and then Charlie was there, and it was before all the Oscars and stuff.
Of course Dana would do that. Like, Charlie Kaufman worked.
Charlie Kaufman.
And then he got famous, whatever.
Whatever. Who cares?
I love Dana Carvey.
Yeah.
But I love that. So, okay, yeah. So this is definitely how Charlie sees himself. But I do love that. I do feel like this is how Charlie thinks when he writes. Like, a lot of the times when he's sitting at his typewriter and he's like, I should get a coffee. Coffee will help me think.
Right.
No, I need to write. And then reward myself with coffee.
Yeah.
Coffee and a muffin. Yeah.
Banana.
Because I'm not going to lie, that's how I feel sometimes. Like, when I've got an idea just for a story, I sit there and I'm like, okay, how do I want to take this? I should get something to drink. No. I need to flesh this idea out first.
I think people who truly love writing are psychopaths.
Yeah.
because writing is hard,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, especially starting, right?
Oh, yeah,
The
dude.
beginning process is what we're seeing here, of course, which is, Charlie Kaufman has made a wonderful film about the creative process here, right? His specific creative process,
right.
but in general.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Right.
I mean, because then, contrast to Donald, and I guess good segue into Donald, he seems to kind of do it effortlessly.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, oh, I've got this idea.
But again, he's not holding himself to any sort of standard,
That's true.
right? Because Charlie is.
And as we hear repeatedly through people, you're being too hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you're good. Even Donald's like, no, I couldn't have done this without you.
Yeah.
And he's,
Donald's really sweet.
Yeah. See, no, I did want to mention this. To contrast what you said about Donald, I feel like Donald is his personification of his confidence.
I see.
Sort of like, if I was confident, I could do it.
Right.
But I also agree with like, well, this would be me if I just said fuck it.
Right. I think that it could be a little bit of both, right? Because if I had the confidence to just do it, the way that it would make the most sense for a movie, right? This would be easy. But, in true Kaufman fashion, I think it's like, well, fuck, that's not
who I am.
right. It's not who I am, and it's not what I want this to be.
Yeah.
Right. I think that, I'm thinking of anything, right? He didn't do it like the book.
And I'm glad he did.
Right. I think he took a different approach to it to change things up in a way that's more compelling, a little more ambiguous, right? That, if you read the book, you get the answers, but if you see the movie, it's a representation of those answers.
Yeah.
It's not the answer, right?
Right.
And I like that. And I think that, obviously this is years down the line of his career.
Which is funny.
Maybe building his confidence a bit.
Which is funny because Donald's script, The Three, I was like, that almost sounds like I'm thinking of anything.
Well, what it is it ends up being this that I have seen before, by the way.
Really?
It's called 3. Hold on.
With Sandra Bullock?
No.
Oh.
I forgot who's in it.
No, that's 9 or something. I don't know. Anyway, continue.
It's a movie called 3, where one of the E's is a 3, by the way. A la 7. And
Okay.
and it's very much like what he's talking about, right, in the movie. And it's a you can find it at Mardell's, by the way, because it is a Christian book.
Wait, what?
Hold on. And it bears a striking resemblance to what Donald is pitching.
Did you tell me you looked into seeing when this was made?
Oh, it was well after this. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was maybe.
I hope Kaufman got some sort of kickback for that.
I doubt it. Hold on. I'll look it up while you're talking.
But anyway, so I mean, I knew the script for The Three wasn't I'm Thinking of Anything, because as we discussed in our I'm Thinking of Anything's episode, shout out to that episode, by the way. Ian Reed wrote the book in 2017, right?
I don't know.
I don't remember. But, so I knew it wasn't, but it felt very much like, oh, hey, I'm Thinking of Anything.
I don't know.
But I do love the relationship between Charlie and Donald. Because even though they're twins, Charlie feels like the older brother. Like when Donald's pitching him the idea for The Three, and he's like, like, how fucked up is that? Like, they're all the same person. And he's like, okay, well, how would you do that, though?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
seriously. Like, he's like, writing it's one thing, but how would you do that? Like, if the prisoner, the killer, and the cop are all the same person, how would we see someone in a basement, but then see them at a police station? Like, and I've had sort of those, I mean, not specifically those kinds of conversations with my brother, but like conversations like that with my brother, like, well, how, that doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that? Mm-hmm. So even though they're twins, it feels very older brother, younger brother kind of.
It does, because it's responsible versus irresponsible, right?
Yeah.
So I looked up 3.
Okay.
And the in the trivia for IMDb, the only spoiler trivia is the plot resembles The Three, a fictional screenplay written by the character Donald Kaufman in the movie Adaptation. Yeah. So it came out 4 years after Adaptation came out.
Oh, shit.
So it's...
let me see the poster. That sounds really familiar.
Yeah. I've seen it.
Huh.
I've seen it.
I don't know.
I remember thinking it was kind of cool, but I was very young, so, I mean, it's, you know...
Oh, well.
Whatever.
But, you know, but anyway, so I really like that relationship, you know, and Charlie tries to be supportive, you know, like when he takes him to set with him at Being John Malkovich, and he's like, you know, don't hit on people. Like, don't do that. Like, she works here. Don't hit on them. Or like when he flies Donald out to New York and Donald's like, I'll go talk to her for you. If you can't do it, I'll do it. And he's like, all right, well, you know, no flirting. Don't be an asshole. And he's like, well, I would never be. And he's like, you know what I mean. Like, don't do this. Don't do that.
Right.
Like, I have a reputation to maintain. Which is kind of funny because Being John Malkovich was his first screenplay, right?
I think so.
Yeah, so it's like, how do you have a reputation if your name is just now getting out there? But anyway, I mean, I get it at the same time. You know, like, people are already recognizing his name, and so it's like, don't fuck this up.
Yeah.
But and Nick does such a great job, and I love what he said in his GQ about it, where if he woke up one day feeling really happy, then he would tell Spike, like, okay, let's shoot all of Donald's stuff first. Then if he woke up and he felt really depressed and kind of mad, then he would say, okay, let's shoot Charlie's stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Which I thought was really cool.
That's smart.
You know, again, I'm pretty sure I've said it before. I don't think people give Nick Cage a lot of credit. You know, I think they look a lot at his filmography and they're like, oh, well, he doesn't know when to say no. Which is true. He doesn't know when to say no, but
yeah.
The man also needed money. So
he's also aware of it.
Yeah, he's also aware that he needed money. So it was like, oh, this movie called Drive Angry? Sure, I'll do it.
Yeah, whatever.
Whatever. Oh, a Ghost Rider sequel? Sure. But he did such a great job, and I genuinely love Nick Cage.
Yeah, of course.
Like, I don't care what anyone says about him. I think he's a phenomenal actor. And you know, and we've seen this before of an actor playing a dual role. Mm-hmm. You know, Armie Hammer in The Social Network.
Oh, wow. That's your first go-to, huh? Cool.
Seth Rogen in American Pickle.
There you go.
And, well, because I genuinely thought Armie Hammer had a twin.
Oh, did you?
Oh, because Fincher did it so well.
I know. It's really good.
It wasn't until the behind the scenes it's like, oh, that was one dude. Oh, okay. Yeah. But so, I mean, we've seen it before, but I mean, it was just so well done, and it's very seamless, especially when they're in a scene together. It's very, you know, I felt like it was very seamless, but, and I just love how Nick did it. But he also said in that GQ, when people come up to him and tell him that they loved him as Donald, he gets jealous because he says he doesn't remember playing Donald. Yeah. He was so in Charlie's headspace that he doesn't remember.
I did read that that instead of Nick allowing himself to come up with things himself or try to work through the character the way he wanted, he would just go up to and let Spike Jonze tell him.
Yeah, he also said that he wanted to see how...
And it got him an Oscar nomination.
I thought he has an Oscar. Doesn't he have one?
Yeah, he does. I think he has one for Leaving Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah. Of course he does.
Or maybe it's Moonstruck. Shit.
Ooh.
Fuck. I don't remember.
I don't know. But he also said that he would go up to Charlie and be like, all right, now show me how would you react if you were mad or sad. And that way he could kind of, and he just killed it. Because I feel like he had more freedom with Donald, since Donald's not a real person.
Yeah, Donald's not a real person, and also he's more of a happy-go-lucky sort of guy.
Yeah, so I think that's why he said he doesn't remember playing Donald, because it was more...
Donald's also sort of blissfully dim.
Yeah.
Which I think it also may lead me to believe that Kaufman wishes he was a little bit dumber. right?
I mean,
maybe he thinks the burden of intelligence is making him crazy.
Well, I mean, Donald does hook up with Maggie Gyllenhaal.
That's true. That's true.
So, I mean,
yeah.
And hanging out with Catherine Keener like it's
nothing.
Like a thing to do.
Yeah.
But I really love how the movie shows that, especially when the movie amps up, which I want to save the amp up for a little bit.
Because that matters too, and that also has a lot to do with Donnie.
Yeah. Now I want to move on to the book itself, The Orchid Thief. I love that we got these intercuts of, like I said, during the synopsis of, it feels like they just adapted what was in the book. Not trying to add anything, trying to really show this is what Susan was writing. Up
until a certain point.
Right when the movie ramps up. Yeah. Then that's, yeah. And I love that it felt very sort of documentary style to me, even though it was these actors playing these real people.
Yeah.
It felt very documentary to me. Seeing Susan meet up with LaRoche and how Floridian he is. No offense out there to our Florida audience if anyone's listening.
Huge offense. You guys are weird.
And Chris Cooper just nails it. Chris is great in everything. It's hard. I will say though, it's hard for me to see him not as old, because all the movies I've seen him in, he's just old as hell. And this,
he's not that old.
I know he's not that old. He's probably as old as my dad.
That's so fucking.
But
funny.
This movie, he looked not that old, and I'm like, it's hard to believe that that's Chris Cooper.
Yeah.
And it just, I really liked kind of these breaks in the story to see what Charlie's been having such a hard time adapting.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't know what else to say about it. I thought it was really cool how they did this.
Yeah, I do have a little fun thing about in the dinner scene where Susan is talking to all of her intellectual New Yorker friends, who are really annoying.
Oh yeah, I hated them.
Did you recognize one of them?
I tried to.
Yeah, one of them is David O. Russell.
Oh my god.
Yeah, because I saw him and I go, I think that guy looks really familiar, and I was like, I think that's David O. Russell. So I looked it up, and sure enough, he's in Adaptation.
Shout out to American Hustle.
Sure. Shout out to David O. Russell calling Lily Tomlin a cunt, and I Heart Huckabees. Go ahead and YouTube it. You know what? Stop what you're doing and listening to us, and YouTube David O. Russell yelling at Lily Tomlin, and it's amazing.
What was she doing? Didn't you show me this?
She's doing nothing. She's just being an actress and doing her job the best she can. And he's losing his mind on her. And so, definitely his fault. Definitely he's the one who's in the wrong.
Oh, well, I mean, okay. I mean, and plus Lily Tomlin is great.
She's a legend. Let Lily Tomlin do whatever she wants.
I do want to see Amsterdam, though. Amsterdam looks great.
Yeah, I think I might see Amsterdam. Really, honestly, sorry, guys. David O. Russell is sort of really hit or miss for me. Mostly miss. I didn't like American Hustle very much. I like Silver Linings Playbook okay.
Oh, that's right. I forgot he did that, too.
I've never seen Three Kings.
My favorite part of Silver Linings Playbook is the whole Ernest Hemingway part where he fucking...
throws it out the window.
Oh, yeah, A Farewell to Arms, and he throws it out the window.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. I didn't recognize that was David O. Russell.
Yeah,
I actually don't know what he looks like.
Oh, okay. Well, then there you go.
But I was sitting there, I'm like, some of these people look so familiar.
Yeah.
But
I only recognized him. I'm sure they all were someone, but...
But, now I'm assuming they did this scene to show Susan isn't really like them, per se.
Or Susan is... Not only is she not really like them, but she has an empathy they don't, right? Mm-hmm. She is... And it also sort of is paying off the craziness at the end where she is...
oh, yeah.
Right, like she's starting to fall for him, in a sense, right? Like this is the very early stages of that, but... which again didn't happen in real life.
I had to look that up. Yeah. I heard that she for a moment was very against it when she got to that part of the script, and she was like, "No, like you can't do this. This will ruin my career."
But also, I think she can see why. Right? Eventually, once you see the whole thing and you start to understand what Kaufman is doing, right? It's sort of like, oh, okay.
well, this makes sense.
It makes sense because of what he's saying about the creative process and about the adapting process.
Yeah.
And what Hollywood's influence can be, right? We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think much like Woody Allen, I have been sort of conditioned not to like Meryl Streep. My dad is not a fan.
What?
And there are movies of hers that I really do like, right? I'm not against Meryl Streep at all. Dad is, but I'm not. And so,
like this movie's on my wish list. I've heard it's really good. The French Lieutenant's Woman or something like that. Have you seen that?
No, I've not. I think Meryl Streep is a fine actress. I think she's great. I don't think she's as good as people say she is. And that's a hot take, but that's my personal opinion.
Have you not seen The Devil Wears Prada?
I have, and I like that movie.
I've seen it. I don't remember it at all.
What? It's great.
It's because I don't care about fashion.
You don't?
No.
Yeah, I can tell. Slam! That was really funny. Anyway, thank you for taking...
I'm not Malibu Jeremy.
Yeah, you're not Malibu Rain today. I think that's part of the thing. Yes, I think Meryl Streep is great in this. I think that she's not doing anything crazy. She's not, right? She's not doing a character necessarily. She's just being Susan.
It does really feel like, she's playing...
She does it very authentic, very genuine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's playing a journalist doing her job.
Right. I have no idea. I didn't look up what Susan looks like. I didn't look up who she is or an interview, which I should have done.
The only thing I looked up is how she felt about the script when she originally read it. And this was like a 2012 interview where she was like, yeah, I was kind of against it, but then I understood why the story went, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. She was cool with it.
Yeah, eventually.
Yeah.
Right. I think her and Chris Cooper dynamite together.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Again, Chris is great.
I know. I think Chris Cooper is so underrated. I think
absolutely, man.
That, guys, you got to see a few of his films if you haven't already. You have to see American Beauty. You have to see October Sky.
Oh, dude. Don't even talk to me about October Sky, man.
We will start crying.
I know, little baby Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, baby Jake.
With that southern accent.
So Chris Cooper plays Jake Gyllenhaal's dad in October Sky.
Uh-huh.
He plays his father-in-law in Demolition, which is another great film, by the way. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Chris is great. Listen, this is another hot take, okay? And then we'll get back to the movie.
Sure.
Say what you will about the Amazing Spider-Man 2 movies.
Yeah.
They were setting Chris up to be like an insane villain because he's very underutilized in the second one.
I don't remember him.
He's barely in the second
all.
one because he immediately dies. But apparently it was because they were going to set him up as a really big bad.
Is he Osborn? No. Mm-hmm. Is he?
Yeah.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, he's Norman.
Shit.
And from what I understand, for the third movie, they were going to set him up to be a really big bad, and I would have loved to see that, but I mean,
it's too late now. No, it's not. I can probably still do
it. No, it is too. I mean, they've been talks that Andrew should get a third Spider-Man movie, but I don't know if he wants to do a third movie.
Who knows?
But anyway, so Chris and Meryl are great together. I think they have great chemistry.
I love how we're not portraying LaRoche as your typical Florida dirtbag.
Yeah.
He looks like one.
Yeah.
But when he starts talking to Jim Beaver about the law.
Shout out to Bobby Singer.
Yeah, shout out to Bobby Singer. Both.
Dude, when I saw him, I was like, I know that guy. And then And then when he turns his head and looks back at the camera, I'm like, oh my God, it's fucking Bobby.
Shout out to Bobby Singer, both in Supernatural and in The Boys. He plays Bobby Singer.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Also, it's Robert Singer.
Senator Robert Singer. Oh, no, he's Senator.
And everyone's like, come on.
Let's call him Bobby. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So when he's telling him, like, and at first you're like, dude, he's caught, man. Like, he's in big trouble. And then he's so calm and he's like, yeah, sure, I'll tell you exactly what's in it. But let me introduce you to my friends first. And then he starts breaking down the law and how, like, if they take it, it's fine, right? Because they're indigenous. And then quoting, the
Supreme Court rulings.
Yeah, Supreme Court, right, exactly. Like that, I was like, oh, okay. Like he's
pretty smart.
Yes, he's a little narcissistic, but yes, he is very smart. And, he's the smartest person he knows, right?
Yeah.
I do really like that we're showing his intelligence. We're not just showing that he's this guy with no front teeth.
Missing 3 front teeth.
Yeah.
Uh,
That was a bummer when we found out what happened to his teeth.
I know, man.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm sure he got him like knocked out. I mean, he did get him knocked out, but I was thinking like maybe a bar fight or something. Nope.
Yeah. Or just poor dental hygiene.
Yeah, killed his mom and his uncle and put his wife in a coma.
For a while.
When she woke up, she was like, we're done.
Deuces.
I'm out E5000.
Like, ooh, you going to get those fixed? No.
No.
Deuces. See you later.
We're done.
And I think he, which is a great character development, he doesn't fix them because...
Mm-hmm. Because as Susan's New York friends say, like, well, it sounds like he can get them fixed. Why doesn't he?
It's because I think it's a reminder. It's sort of like punishment.
Yeah.
Right? We've seen this in films that we've talked about recently where people, do things or keep things or don't fix things on purpose for punishment. Right? And this is one of those where it's a good look. I didn't look anything up about...
Neither did I. I looked a little bit up about the book.
Sorry, guys. Work has been insane, and I didn't get enough time to do any sort of research like I normally do.
It's all right.
I'm just going off, the movie the way I see it.
It's all Gucci. Here, keep talking for a second. I gotta click this
I will.
on my computer.
So LaRoche. LaRoche is so interesting that, it's no wonder someone wanted to make someone to write an article about him. But
yeah.
Also, it's just so interesting that he risks all of this trouble and he is a part of this legacy of orchid thieves that, which sounds very interesting, which I would watch a whole movie about that, which is why I think it fascinating that she only mentions it in passing in this article,
Yeah.
So-and-so who, was never seen again. So-and-so got, killed. And so-and-so got murdered.
Yeah,
so
this guy who managed to get it, got murdered as soon as he completed his task.
Yeah. I mean...
That would have been cool to make a whole movie.
It would have been fascinating to go more into that and then maybe the last third of it be LaRoche, right?
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't think that orchids were that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And people risking their lives for it makes it seem like a bigger deal, but, they don't really go into that, which I think is why Kaufman had such a hard time.
Yeah, I was just about to say, that's why he was struggling so hard.
Because it's like, fuck. Like, this is literally just about flowers.
And I love how when we cut back to Kaufman and he's trying to write and he's got his tape recorder bouncing his ideas off of himself, he's frantically like trying to find something like, okay, we open with this and no, we'll open with this. And then, and what I love is he's describing how the movie itself opens.
Yes.
Which I love that. But the other thing that I really like the most, and I did want to talk about before we get into the ramp up,
sure,
is kind of going back to Charlie, his relationship with everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So, like with his agent, for example. Shout out to our Office Space episode, Ron Livingston. When I saw his name on the cast, I was like, Ron Livingston. Is it Ron Livingston? Yeah. I love Ron. Very underrated.
I think this film is really good at getting you excited about a person and then not being in it very long. Because it's like...
Yeah, he's in it for like 2 scenes.
Yeah. And then it's like, Tilda Swinton. Oh, how fun. And then...
Oh, she's gone.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
Oh, she's gone. Oh, okay.
Shit like that.
Yeah, and I forgot... Yeah, I saw that Tilda was in it and I was like, oh, okay. Oh, she's gone now. Okay, great.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Is she like a producer or something?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah.
For Sony, I guess.
Yeah, because she hires Charlie to write the script, and then checks in with him like, all right, how's the script coming? Like,
this was Sony, right? I don't remember what.
What
production?
It was Columbia.
Oh, Columbia.
I don't know if Sony had bought them yet.
Oh, right.
By this point.
That's a good point.
But anyway, I just love like this interaction that he always has with people, like, because he's always so neurotic, like when he's talking to Ron, his agent, and Ron is being very just kind of like flippant, kind of.
Well,
like,
he's vulgar. He's a bro for sure. Before that was a normal term.
Actually, to use the Gen Z terms, he would be a Chad.
Yeah.
But,
Holy
his
shit.
his client is sitting here like in duress, and he's like, "Hey, you see that girl there? Yeah, I fucked her." Like, and he's like, "Cool,
Man.
Can you help me here?"
No, I'm just kidding.
He's like, "I'm just kidding." Yeah, it's so good, and he's like, "No, I'm just kidding. I'd like to though." And Charlie. Charlie in his most desperate is like, "You got to get me out of this."
He is just getting no support.
Yeah.
Which is very funny.
Especially and I love when we see Ron again, when Charlie's in New York, and he's like, "Hey, by the way, the 3, it's awesome."
Yeah.
He's like, "I'm going to sell the shit out of this thing, man." And it's like, yeah, well, help your client.
Yeah.
Like
It's really, is it to say, I know you're struggling, but your
brother's script is awesome.
Your brother's doing fucking great.
And then, with Valerie, Tilda Swinton's character, she, I guess the point is she's trying to be a producer and like, "Hey, well, maybe you should try this." And that's where we get his whole like, "Well, I don't want this to be very Hollywood.
Right.
I want this to focus on the flowers and focus on,
Right. I want it to be like the book, right? The book focuses on the flowers, focuses on LaRoche, but mostly on just the enactment, or I guess I'll say magnetic, because that was kind of what I just said. The magnetic quality of what draws people to the orchids, right? And what draws people to risk everything for them, right? Which is so odd to me still. But it's because I don't give a shit about flowers, I guess. But, right?
Yeah.
But I think what really culminates into what gears up sort of the end is Charlie, in his last-ditch desperation, goes to that fucking seminar.
Yeah. The seminar that Donald has been really pushing him to go.
He's been really keen on it.
Oh my God, shut up.
Nailed it.
His name is McKean, though, isn't it?
Doesn't matter.
Well, and I love that, like, Donald is so, like, into it that Charlie's like, "It sounds like you're in a cult. Stop that."
I do love that Charlie, and I do think he really does feel this way, really hates the Hollywood system. Because, anytime Donald says, "Hey, I'm going to pitch my..."
Don't say pitch.
Don't say pitch.
Don't say
right?
pitch.
He hates buzzwords like that. He hates just I think my thing would be networking. I don't like that word. It's disgusting, right?
Yeah, like you got a network.
Ugh, that's disgusting to me. So I think, that's how he feels about all of it.
Yeah.
Right? You go, ugh, don't say that.
That's yucky. I don't like that.
Yeah, that's gross. Don't become one of these people I have to answer to.
Yeah.
I think is what really it is.
Yeah, but Charlie, in his desperation, finally is like, "You know what? Fine. I'll go. I'll see if this can help me out."
He becomes Cameron. He goes, I'll go.
Shit. Shout out to Ferris Bueller. Dude, we for sure, on its anniversary, we have to do an episode on that. Even if it's like a bonus episode or something. But, okay. So he goes and he meets Bob McKean. Shout out to Brian Cox. Which I really feel like they just told Brian to, like, come in. Just be Brian. Because he says fuck so many times.
Yeah, he's great.
But Bob finally kind of, like, tells him, like, "Okay, you just need to just find the ending. If you can find the ending, then you've got it." And the only thing that Charlie can think of is he needs to meet Susan. And then this is where we were talking about where he sends Donald in his place because he's too scared. But Donald feels like Susan's not telling us everything.
Which is so interesting. So I think that, it's... You could read this in several ways. One, I don't think this actually happened, obviously, because he can't send someone else in his place. But I think that if he did go meet Susan, I don't know if that actually happened, but he's almost like, I need to be confident. I need to not be myself, right? So I'm going to go meet her, not as this neurotic, fat, balding Charlie Kaufman, which, by the way, he's not fat or balding, but, he's... Again, how he sees himself is just so insane, right?
Yeah.
I think that might be what this is, right? Mm-hmm. You could read this whole thing as, which would make sense of Donnie's screenplay, that, obviously Donnie is just a manifestation of just another version of Charlie, right?
Yeah.
I think you could read it as, like what we were saying at the beginning, that he is the confident, naive,
dim-witted,
right, sort of happier version of himself.
Yeah.
Right? Because he is where he looks exactly like him, right? That doesn't seem to bother him or it be a hindrance in any sort of way.
Yeah.
Right? Like what Charlie thinks, right? Charlie thinks like, I'm fat, I'm balding, I'm ugly, I'm sweaty, I'm blah, 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 blah. That doesn't have anything to do with Donnie getting chicks, right?
No, yeah,
or,
no,
or
yeah,
being confident or writing a screenplay or anything like that. So it's,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, so he's like, Susan's lying to us about something. We need to follow her. And this is where the movie starts to ramp up a little bit.
So this is exactly the point also where, and this is why this is important, where Charlie asks Donnie to help him with the screenplay.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so when that happens, we get drugs, we get sex, we get car chases, we get guns.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
Right?
Yeah.
Because at this point we find out that they're grinding up the orchids for drugs. I don't think you can actually do that either. So it doesn't seem like you can. I think we would have heard that by now.
I feel like nowhere have I heard that orchids can be narcotic.
I've bought Haley an orchid before, so you know what I mean?
Well, way to go, dude.
I know.
She's probably at home right now.
I know. This was a year ago, but yeah.
But yeah. Holy shit. I'm gonna be real. I didn't make that connection.
Yeah,
I mean, like I got it. I was like, oh, the script is becoming
what he didn't want.
The movie's becoming what he didn't want.
But it is when he decided to have Donnie help him out.
Yeah.
And this is when all this shit happens in the movie, which of course did not happen in real life.
Yeah. This is where the movie becomes really fictionalized.
Yeah.
But yeah, they track down Susan, and she's been having an active affair with LaRoche. They've been doing the drugs. That just sounded so old there.
You sound like a narc, yeah. Hey, fellow teens.
Leaning on my van that says DEA. Like, you want to do some underage drinking? It's my favorite Pete Holmes joke. I don't go to a lot of music concerts.
Yeah.
But Charlie decides, what I find so interesting is Charlie decides to be the one to do the sneaking. Because Donald's like, I'll be right back. Don't move. But Charlie's like, no, it has to be me.
Yeah.
But he gets caught.
Of course.
And Susan, in her drugged out mind, decides the only way out of this is they have to kill Charlie.
Yeah, of course.
So they drive out to the nature preserve. And at the last second, Donald saves his life. And then we get this really great scene with them of Charlie saying, like, you've been so, what was the word he used?
I don't remember.
But almost naive. But he's like, I don't mean that offensively. I mean that as a compliment. And he tells him about how when they were in high school together, how this girl that Donald had a crush on, after Donald was so confident with her and walked away, they made fun of him. And he's like, well, I don't care. He's like, no one can take that away from me. I loved her, and no one can, like, I'm allowed to love who I want to love, and no one can take that away from me. And it's such a great scene.
Yeah.
It's almost like Charlie saying that he can make these two parts of himself exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be one or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They survive the night.
Yeah.
Manage to get away. I mean, Donald does get shot in the arm, but they manage to get away, but not paying attention. And this is why you wear your seatbelt.
This is why you wear your seatbelt.
And poor Donald is thrown through the windshield after they hit the Ranger's truck and unfortunately dies.
Here's what I love about that. Here's what I love about this scene is that the way Spike Jonze shoots it, there's no slow-mo, there's no music. It's they hit, he flies out the window, and he's dead. It's so fast, right?
Yeah.
Well, he's not quite dead yet, but
he's dying.
Yeah. I love how fast it is.
Yeah, it's not.
There's no dramatic effect anywhere.
Yeah, it's very
matter of fact.
and very real life, which is kind of going back to the meta-ness,
Yeah.
you know, Charlie wants us to be very real. And, you know, in real life, you know, if you're trying to escape this dangerous situation, you're not going to want the radio on. You're going to want to, you're going to be looking everywhere. And if you hit something and someone goes through the windshield, it's not going to be.
Could you imagine like getting in? It's like, dude, we gotta go. It's like, cool, man. Just give me 1 second. Pass me the aux cord real quick.
Hang on. I gotta get some shit. Like they are literally about to kill
like, yo,
us.
man. Like, yeah, but I have a playlist for this. So like, give me 1 second.
Could you imagine? Like, it's like, hang on. I gotta play. I've got my Chase playlist right
That's
now.
how I am. If I go anywhere in my car, no matter how close it is, I go, I need music. Let me find my music.
Oh yeah, I do that to Ashley all the time. Like if we go to Market Street, which is literally 2 minutes away.
Yeah.
I'm like let's listen to some jams, and she's like, we're almost there. I'm
Yeah,
like,
let's
I
pop
don't
up the
care.
jams.
Like let's put on some jams.
Literally being in the car in the parking lot, you're almost there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
But yeah, so Donald dies, and LaRoche gets eaten by an alligator. Well,
Yep.
not necessarily eaten, but he gets a good chunk taken out of his abdomen.
Yeah. He's killed by an alligator.
And Susan, I guess we assume then Susan gets arrested.
Yeah.
But I find it so interesting what she tells Charlie. I want to be new. I want to go back to before this all got fucked up. And I just find that so interesting, especially the whole I want to be new.
Yeah.
And Charlie, it's almost like Charlie can kind of understand what she's saying, you know, a little bit. But then we have the next heartbreaking moment of him having to call their mother.
Right.
And, you know, and he, of course, we don't hear what he tells her. He just breaks down. And she's like, what's wrong, honey? Like, what's wrong?
Yeah.
And it's rough.
Yeah.
It's so rough.
Yeah, it's sad.
Especially because throughout the movie, we've kind of been told to love Donald.
Yeah.
And we do love Donald. But then the movie ends on this sort of hopeful note. And again, being very meta, Charlie is writing the script in his head with voiceover as what he's doing.
Right.
You know, which I love.
Yeah.
Like, McKean will be upset with that. But you know what? Voiceover works.
Yeah.
And that was the movie.
And that's Adaptation.
Yeah.
It's genius what Kaufman has done because he is making a film about how hard it is
To make
something, right?
Yeah.
And instead of giving up on adapting The Orchid Thief, he goes, let me just make a movie about me adapting The Orchid Thief, right? And then at the end, I'll throw in all that bullshit that Hollywood loves and all that stuff. And, you know, and
yeah.
it's so bizarre.
It almost kind of reminded me a little bit, especially when in the movie Charlie, as I mentioned earlier, Charlie goes, I've written myself in my own script. Like, it felt very early Synecdoche.
Yeah.
You know, as it becomes a play within a play within a play.
Right.
You know, and I loved that, man. It's brilliant. And this actually wasn't what I was expecting. I remember seeing that original poster, which hopefully Future Rain has used, the poster of the pot.
Right.
I remember seeing that poster and thinking that movie was probably going to be very serious, very not. I remember seeing it and thinking like, oh, I don't think I'd ever like that movie.
Yeah.
Now I love that movie.
Yeah.
And it has its serious moments, but I would say it's just more of a meta commentary on this one writer's struggle.
And just the way, you know, and I think that it got so much praise and attention because out of his other films, this is pretty digestible to most people, I think.
Yeah, I mean, going back to, you know, Synecdoche, you know, that movie gets kind of confusing.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say at times, a majority of the time.
Yeah, it's mad confusing, right? For sure.
You know,
I'm thinking of Anythings. I think that one is also sort of like, wait,
what?
Like, what's going on? Wait, his hair was just gray, now it's brown. Like, I don't understand. You know what I mean? Like, shit like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, why is the mom dressed as a 1950s housewife now?
And being John Malkovich is sort of, you know, like really bizarre, and you know, it's it's not as bizarre as some of his later stuff, or especially Synecdoche. I think that's going to be the
weirdest.
bar. Yeah.
Would you say that is to Charlie Kaufman as Eraserhead is to Lynch?
Probably. Yeah, I would say that. And of course, I don't know if you've seen it, but Eternal Sunshine.
I haven't. I want to, especially with the scene I've heard so much about when Jim Carrey's going through his collapsing mind, and they do that one take where Jim has to recreate a memory and then be back in remembering the scene, remembering the memory.
Yeah.
I've heard that's like
it's
super
pretty trippy
impressive.
and very bizarre, right? Which is another Kaufman. So definitely future episode.
Oh, for sure.
For sure. We got to get through all of them eventually.
So, but Jeremy, are you ready to wrap up?
I am. I think Kaufman's a genius. I've said it a million times. Kaufman just finds a way to make these stories and to tell stories in such a unique perspective. And I love what he's trying to say, right? He's trying to tell people what being creative means to him, right? Mm-hmm. What this process is to him, how precious it is to him, right? Because he's not just going to fucking, just fine, I'll put in, a car chase, which of course, ironically is what happens in this movie, but on purpose, right?
It's more like, I'll do it on my terms.
Right.
Yeah. And yeah, man, I agree. We haven't, even though Synecdoche was very strange, I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
I loved
it's definitely my favorite.
I loved Anomalisa. I loved Thinking of Ending Things. I'm still trying to get Ashley to watch it because I know she'll enjoy it. Yeah. Because the surrealism is dialed up to an 11.
I know it.
And it works. And so this is no different. I got Being John Malkovich for your recommendation. Of course, I just didn't follow through.
That's okay.
But I'll watch it.
I just wanted to, because they're there.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I think you might have more fun if you'd seen it. But
yeah, that's true. Yeah. But yeah, man. So Jeremy, what are we going to talk about next week?
It's a good question.
Okay.
Oh, you want me to answer it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Next week we are going to be discussing Akira Kurosawa's Ikiru.
Oh.
Next week. So.
All right, man. Yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited to watch another Kurosawa movie.
Yeah, of course. And we have one more on yours, right? We got High and Low on yours. Hell yeah. All right, cool.
Which of course then, I've also got two other of his films I need to watch. Hidden Fortress and Throne of Blood. I'm so excited.
Yeah, Ikiru. Yeah,
and I've heard it. The plot is very basic, but how Kurosawa does it is so. It's a Kurosawa film.
Of course.
I've heard it's literally just a story of a guy building a playground.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
But as we've talked about with Rashomon and now Seven Samurai, Kurosawa just has an eye for things.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I've been ready. I've been ready to watch this.
Yeah. Me too.
I'm excited, bro.
Me too.
Well, we hope everyone enjoyed Adaptation, and we'll see you next week for Ikiru.